Hi, yeah, I know it's me again, your favorite internet person. Mm. Part of me just like wants to clarify a few things that were said yesterday. Because I haven't used them in a minute and because they're here. Um, I also have the fortune telling cards, but those are kind of rough. So I'm not gonna use those. I do want to check this out. I don't know why, again, I chose nearing the end of Mercury retrograde to finally try to do something about audio quality on some of these. It's because I've watched a few of my videos back. I watch myself every now and then from time to time. Um, and Eve, oh my gosh, I was like, okay, so I am so glad to see you. Um, First and foremost, I was listening to that read that you did for me again earlier today when I was on the treadmill. And when you went into the second spread, when you said, like, I'm going to read this, like, row, 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 Naked and Afraid was on the TV in front of me, and they were, like, literally rowing to the island as you were saying, row, row, row. And I was like, that's funny. That's interesting. Also, I'm drinking an Oracle juice today in this coffee mug because I had a fight. First of all, I got the 97-cent corkscrew. This, this, if you can tell, it's not supposed to be like this. Yeah, it doesn't even. Yeah, I had a fight with the cork yesterday, and of course, I can't get it back in the bottle, so I have to drink it. And I'm trying to see if there's a red wine that I like. And there was a Barefoot, obviously, not sponsored. It was like a Barefoot, sweet red. And I was like, I like sweet, so I'll try it. I'm not usually a huge fan of wine, but it's actually not bad. I think I've also found that I like cheaper wines more than expensive wines. But by expensive wines, I mean like the three that I tried at Olive Garden. So, you know what I mean? But I did get, because I think it was like 3 years ago. No, it was 2019, right? Was that 2019 when I went to Michigan? Or was that 2020? No, because we wore masks. So it was 2021? Question mark. Yeah, it had to be 2021. Last year I went to London, and it was the year before that. So yeah. Um, when I went to Nona Lisa's, I think I got pasta and it was a Cabernet, I think. It was some wine that I got there. It wasn't bad, but I don't know. I love it. I need like something sweet. I don't like grape wines, so that's why like if it says sweet, I'm like okay. But I've got you know. Oh, it must have been cold because it's frosting the ceramic. Anyway, I also have my wine today because of the wine in the video. I thought of you. I think there might have also been something else, but I already forgot what it was. So, but yeah, I had a fight with this thing yesterday, and I almost gave up after it was already bent. But I was like, you know what? Since I already broke the thing, let's just go full force. And I eventually got the cork out. But yeah, yesterday things got a little chili peppery towards the end of the video. I guess it's fine. Um, maybe like more so than anything, like I'm not necessarily one of those people who's like, I incarnated for a reason. I am here right now at this time in particular to help the planet Earth ascend into the 5D to get to the new world. Like, maybe, but as I live my incarnation, for me, to me, it's like that. It's not that it's not the point. It's just that, like, I don't know. So lately in Patrick's world, there's been this question of, or a noticing of, a lot of things that we do, a lot of things that are done just because like people do them. Like, maybe potentially nonsensical example, because maybe there is some legitimacy to it, but like knocking on decks to clear the energy before you read or whatever. And it's like, what, you see a reader knock on decks and then you get your own deck and you knock on decks, or somebody said that, and like namaste, how everyone's like namaste. And it's like, it's just these different things that seem to be like a part of the culture that people just do because somebody said, oh, it does this or it means that or whatever. And I guess the rebel that is me. I I feel like more often than not, I fall into the camp of like, does it matter? Like, even if I am, does it matter? If I'm not, does it matter? Um, I'm not gonna give that. I'm not gonna answer that question. Um, but in my mind, to me, like, it doesn't matter who or what I was in a past life if I'm not doing the things in my current life to like make things better. You know what I mean? Or to like actually do something. It's like, what good is a title? What good is a knowing if it doesn't really benefit anybody, or if it doesn't really like lead to anything different being done? You know what I mean? I think sometimes, and it's like, oh, I was gonna listen. Well, I'm assuming you can hear me because you're replying. We're engaged in conversation. Um, I drink, like, this bottle was bigger than I thought it would be. Honestly, they didn't have a smaller one. I also have the Lenormand. Oh, the Well and the Dog. I have the, whoever this is, Lenormand, the Gilded Reverie Lenormand, and the Mystical Medleys Tarot, because I gotta have my cards apparently. But it's like, it's things that we pick up on just because like it's the standard practice. But it's like, does it for us even mean anything? Like, I feel like we've talked about spiritual bypassing, but we've entered an age or era, or we've been in an age of era of like spiritual displacing, where it's like, oh, like, this isn't my stuff, this is the collectives. This isn't me, it's my ancestors. It's not me, it's you, and you're projecting on me. And we're not like, it's like these things that we are doing just because somebody said that it means this or means that. And then it's these other things that we're not doing because we don't believe it's for us to do. But at the same time, it's like, but if it's not your test, if it's not something for you to learn, then you wouldn't struggle with it. You know what I mean? It's like you would be able to just do it, right? I don't know. Yeah. And I'm not like, I'm never like, there have been a few things that I've resonated with throughout my journey. Ooh, the fish at the bottom of the deck. There have been a few things that I resonate with. I definitely don't talk about all of it because I just like don't. You know what I mean? Because for me, there are some things that have like, there are some things that hold resonance, but there's something about the way that I see it communicated, or there's something about the way I see the identity paraded that doesn't resonate with me or for me. Um, Also, my journey is my journey. And in my early days, you could catch me in people comment sections like, blah, 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 blah. Like, I did this meditation and then like this happened and then that happened and all this other stuff happened. Um, but it's like more and more, it's just that question of like, does it even matter? Like, does it matter if it's not helping me in this life, or if it's not getting me where I want to go, if it's not helping me do the things that I know are for me to do? You know what I mean? I know it's not even like 7 o'clock and I'm already drinking, but I'm not the only one. So thank you. And I was going to drink out of I was honestly just going to drink out of the bottle, but I was like, I can be a little bit more classy than that and drink out of a coffee mug. But yeah, and then it's like, I don't know, because I was talking to my mom a minute ago, like weeks ago, and somehow we ended up somewhere around in this area or in this neighborhood of like, it was early 2020, where it seemed like there were a lot of readers on YouTube and a lot of different people who like stopped reading, who jumped on like an almost religious bandwagon, not bandwagon, but who like left YouTube spirituality in pursuit of something more aligned to religion. And it was a lot of like, I started with tarot and then this and then that and then all of these other things. And for me, at that point, and even in other ways, it's like, well, what about like your spirit? What about the divine that lives in you? Was there never a point where it was like, hey, like this doesn't resonate or this doesn't work? I guess I'm fortunate in the sense that like before, because I was I was raised Christian, raised in the church, born in the church. And so like tarot was a no for most of my life until I had that darkest night. And then I came out of it and I was like, why not? But before I did that, my spirit was like, like you get the cards, that's all you're going to do. The candles, the rituals, everything else, it's not for you. Don't do it. And I was like, okay. Before I saw anything on YouTube, it was just like all of that stuff, like it's not for you. Not to say that it's not for other people, it's just not for me. And now I, with with Patrick being Patrick, I can 8 of Wands. I can imagine why. I don't really have to imagine. I can see why it's not for me. It's because I don't operate in those modalities. But for me, like I'm constantly, again, like I'm open-minded, but I'm also like equally skeptical. And I've never found someone that resonates 100% for me. I found people who resonate like a lot, and I found truth. I found resonant truths within like other people and myself, but I have yet to meet someone who I'm 100% like every single thing you say every single time is me. Oh my gosh. I think sometimes too, when we are in a period of need or when there is something that we really want, it can be easy to latch on to something that may present itself as a solution because we really want it to be, because we really need it to be. Does it speak poorly on the intentions of the person putting out content or information? Not always. But it's like, again, it's like that's when our own, I guess, just like how discernment is interesting. Question mark. Also, I took my twists out. as you can see. And I don't know, it's like I feel like there was there was a minute where, and it's not that it's invalid, the systems that we live in and the way that we're raised and the media that we're exposed to and the cultures that we grow up in. But again, to me, at the end of the day, it's like people are people. We all are connected to spirit. We are all a ripe, plump, juicy fruit of spirit that exists in the physical. We all have hearts. We all have minds. We all have souls. Did the heart never feel? Did the mind never think? Did the soul never speak? Question mark. Or do we just fall in? And I'm not trying to like come for people, but I was watching, like, if it's just like one person or like one video, like for me that sample size isn't large enough for it to like necessarily like be a thing. But these are like sentiments that I see like reflected quite often. I am also aware that sometimes I see the things that I need to see to say the things that are for me to say, apparently, with my North Node in Sagittarius and my Chiron in Capricorn. Chiron is not a Capricorn, with my Chiron in Leo. So I know that. I'm aware of that. I forgot what I was saying. But oh yeah, because I was saying like it's not just like one person or one video or whatever. It's like these sentiments that I see, and then there's like this commiseration question mark, or this like this energy wasn't what we thought it would be. Like, oh no. It could be. I think I have been in experiences too where, oh, that's what I was going to talk about. I have been in experiences too sometimes where I will have a certain amount of resonance with someone else, but there's like resonance, like they have experiences that I don't have, but they kind of sort of like, because we might resonate in some ways, they assume that there's a shared experience there. And I'm like, that experience was not mine. I have no clue. I can't personally speak to it, but also, again, like it takes all kinds of people from all different walks of life, and nobody is necessarily wrong. But I think too, sometimes we can be so quick to buy into things that we don't necessarily fully. I don't want to say like we don't look at the whole picture, because I feel like that's a little condescending. Um, but like, I really F this up. This little 97 cent. I've never used one before. I get Arbor Mist. They don't have corks. You just untwist the top. Um, I don't know what I was saying. So I guess the thing is, because I was, it's partially this whole Age of Aquarius thing, which is partially my confusion at why anyone who knows astrology would necessarily view Uranus as a savior. Like Uranus as a liberator, maybe, but anything besides that, like, no. So are we supposed to live an age of dystopia until Uranus moves into Capricorn? What Uranus and Capricorn builds from the rubble that Uranus and Capricorn, the age of Capricorn builds off of the rubble that the age of Aquarius leaves in its wake. So that maybe in the age of Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is like happy and Jupiterian or whatever, then we can get some happiness. And it's, I don't know, it's kind of sort of wild to me, I guess. And then it's like in America how we have a gun problem. Um, and people will be like, well, if the teachers had guns, then the teachers could fight back. And in my mind, it's like, well, where does it end? Or like, is that the vision that you have of what like going to school should be, or like going to a mall or anything. It turns into this like wild, wild west. The student rolls in with the gun and the teachers are shooting back, and like is that the solution? Like, to me, that's like the age of Aquarius. It's this dystopian wild west. Everyone has their own idea. No one's necessarily trying to work together. Everyone, I guess, they're well intentioned enough. Um right, because a Sagittarius will be like, I feel like people love to be like, Pisces will be like, well, this doesn't fit my fantasy, so I'm gonna leave. Like Sagittarius ain't doing the same thing. Hello? Pisces will at least self delude long enough for y'all to at least maybe spend some time together. Sagittarius will be like, oh, yeah, no, this isn't going to work for me. You're too this, you're too that, you're too restrictive. It's just like, anyway, this isn't that video. Or is it? I guess I don't know. It's just like, I don't know if disappointing is the word. I feel like it's not disappointing. I feel like a lot of times we sell ourselves short, maybe. And I feel like sometimes when it's a bad guy or a bad gal or a bad person or a bad entity or a bad organization, it's a lot easier to be like, well, they have bad intentions, so they're bad. But at the same time, it's like what I was saying about like empaths. You can't like if you're an empath, I feel I don't I don't I don't want to say diagnose. I don't call myself an empath. I recognize I am empathic. I have empathic capabilities, but I wouldn't call myself an empath. And I feel like for one who calls themselves an empath, sometimes it's a little unfair to be as critical of other people as they can be, or as critical of other people as the empath narrative would lead one to be, as like they're doing this and they're in that energy and blah 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 blah. Well, it's like, okay, but like you just don't have good energetic boundaries. That's not someone who's necessarily intentionally and purposefully projecting on you or throwing your vibe off or whatever. It's just like you don't have good boundaries. So it's like, it's not my, like if you come into my house and you're lactose intolerant and I have whole milk, full fat in the refrigerator, you go in my fridge and you drink my milk, and then you're like, I'm lactose intolerant. Why don't you have soy, vegan, whatever milk? It's like, girl, you came over here. Hello? If you want soy vegan milk, go get in your own fridge. Go to the grocery store and buy it. Milk your own oats. Leave my almonds alone. Again, it's just like this displacement of like who's responsible for what. And again, in my mind, and it's because my narrative is different, maybe my personal narrative, when it comes to like my ancestors and other people, like if something is mine, I own it. But I guess like I'm the type of person that can do that. I guess I've kind of sort of always known that I'm built different, just because it's just like there are some things that people do that like don't make sense to me. I guess it's not supposed to. I feel like I'm drinking way too much way too quickly. But also, like I said, I don't have a cork, so I don't want this to go flat. I kind of want to use the wild unknown archetypes. I haven't talked to Siri in a minute. Google is my new favorite assistant, but I think you all know that. Like, I can give Google complex commands and Google will follow them. Like, I can tell Google to control multiple things at once, and Google's like, okay. And I'm like, work, thank you. Also, Google can put the lights on a timer. If I'm like, turn off the lights in half an hour, she'll do it. If Siri says heads, I will Siri. If Google says heads, oh, there goes my whatever. I will grab the wild unknown archetypes. The reason why I want to grab the wild unknown archetypes, the reason why I look for cards, if you want clarification, not that I necessarily feel like I owe it to anybody, but because, like, like I've said before, I don't feel like I owe anybody anything. But just because I don't feel like I owe anybody anything doesn't mean I'm going to be a terrible, selfish person. You know what I mean? Maybe that's because I truly believe at some level that everyone deserves basic common decency and respect, and that everyone deserves like a chance at certain things in life. And I don't have to personally believe that I'm a star seed from some galaxy that is super advanced, that's sent to planet Earth, basically to the backwoods, BFE, like nowhere, podunk, whatever, to do good in order to like feel that I should contribute or whatever. Like, if I care because I care. If I'm doing something, I'm doing it because I care or whatever, not because I have some greater purpose, destiny to not fulfill. Anyway, that's unnecessary. I don't know. I mean, it's fine. I am going to pour me up. Oh, yeah, I'm going to ask Google. Hey, Google, flip a coin, please.
It landed on heads.
Did you hear that? So I'm going to use the wild unknown archetypes. I just didn't know if, like, because I guess I don't have to mix them if I use them. Um, Also, I'm using my microphone. You did hear it? Okay. I'm using my podcasting mic. Um, because like I said earlier, I watch myself and in my like sometimes my like voice gets like really low, and I've watched myself back and it's like kind of hard to hear me. So I was like, oh, last time I used the mic that's built into the webcam, it's quite a ways away and not necessarily the same quality. This time I'm doing this again. Why did I pick the middle of a Mercury retrograde to try to switch up the technology? Because Mercury don't own nothing here, as was proven in the beginning of the retrograde when Mercury wanted to do whatever to my little computer screen, and I was like, hey, I'll pull it up on my TV. When my lights was doing whatever, I'll get new lights. I mean, they died because light bulbs die. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes I'm frustrated with people in humanity and the collective because I see us doing so much more. Also, because like we ask for more and then we want to do less. It's like I'm sovereign, but I want the divine to do everything for me. I have free will and I have choice, but I don't want to have to make any choices or decisions in life. Or like I love consequences when consequence works for me, but as soon as there's a negative consequence or repercussions to my actions, then all of a sudden it doesn't matter and we're just here to have an experience that's all good and all gravy all the time and there's no judgment and whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I guess there's no growth either, because how else does one learn or grow? But then, I don't know. It's just, anyway. I feel like my intentions were to get on here and do better, but I'm not. I blame the Oracle juice because I'm drinking it, and I can. Apparently, like red wine is supposed to be like beneficial for me, so I'm trying to get into it. But like I said, I need the sweet stuff because wine isn't necessarily my go-to. Your webcam mic doesn't register your whisper voice. Got to use the blue. Ooh. I kind of love your voice, honestly. What am I doing? I'm grabbing the wild unknown archetypes. I'm filling up my bottle. There's like a little bit left in the bottle. I'm filling up my cup. There's a little bit left in the bottle. I do have two other kinds of alcohols. that I'm not gonna drink. I mean Oracle juice. You know. Oh, I don't. It's like also sometimes it's this. I remember there was a time when I was more connected to people. Sure, we'll say that. There was this time where I talked to more people more consistently. We'll go with that. There was a time I talked to more people more consistently. And in talking to people, it's like they would know exactly. It's like sometimes they would be like, "Hey, like I'm lost for guidance and I don't know what, is being asked of me right now. I don't know what to do." And it's like, "Okay." And then I talk to them and it's like, "Well, they know exactly what the divine is asking them to do." Not even the divine. They know exactly what is for them to do. They know exactly, if we look at life as this whatever, where their trajectory is leading them. They just either don't want to do it, aren't comfortable with doing it. There's some significant blockage, burden, whatever challenge that keeps them from doing it. Understandable. But it's like you already know what's for you to do. So like do that instead of like finding other things to do to try to substitute for the thing that you know is for you to do. And then you get frustrated and you get irritated and you get upset and you feel abandoned and you feel all this and you feel like your guides aren't whatever, but you already know what they're telling you to do. Your resistance to doing it is keeping you from doing it. So you're not getting where you want to go, but it's their fault. It's your ancestors' fault because they couldn't or they didn't or blah, 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 whatever. But you aren't either. So, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a difference between, like, I am doing this and my ancestors didn't do that. And my ancestors didn't do that. And I'm not doing it either. But that's their thing to learn how to do. It's not mine, but I'm still not going to. And it's like, okay, sure. But at some point, something needs to be done. And I get like life is hard, challenges are challenging, hard times are hard times. But at the end of the day, if anything is to change, then something has to change, right? And that displacement, if it's like if you're finding that displacement spiritually or otherwise isn't getting you where you want to be in life, or it's not getting you in the direction that you know is for you to go, well, maybe it's time for you to start doing stuff. To start doing the thing that you know is for you to do rather than doing like everything else that you hope is going to be a good enough substitution to get you where you're going. And it's like, okay. Well. But also at the end of the day, it's your life. It's your path. It's your journey. It's almost like, when you have a friend and you're listening to them and they're like, I'm struggling with this and I'm struggling with that. I've been this friend, believe me. I have been this friend. I recognize. I own it. I've been that friend. I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with that. And you're like, okay, well, why don't you do this? And they're like, how could you? Like, blah, 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 blah. Like, da, 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 da. I can't believe you tell me to, like, whatever. And it's like, well, you said that you were struggling or that this or that. And it's like, oh, so like we're just doing a pity party thing. You just want to complain. Okay, I'll just listen. You want to complain, you don't want solutions. I'll just listen. And I will be here next week and the week after that 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 because you don't want to do anything. You just want to complain. Or you just want to not have to do the thing, but want everything to be better. Got it. You don't actually want me to help you. You just need somebody to listen to you. I can do that. I can listen. Who's at fault there? The friend who isn't whatever, but as soon as they try to give you a solution, you get mad. You get upset. You don't even do it. It's like, okay. But sure, blame spirit. I don't know. And again, I know humaning is hard and living is difficult. It's not easy, especially when there isn't necessarily something or someone that has demonstrated for us better. But girl, ain't you the star seed from some galaxy where it's already taken care of? Don't you know? If don't nobody on this planet know, isn't that why you're here? Isn't that why you incarnated? Isn't that part of your pre-incarnation soul contract or whatever? I don't know. It's fine. I feel like I really shouldn't leave this up, but again, in my mind, it's like maybe it's because I've seen so many people like that on the internet that I'm like, does it even matter if I am a star seed? If I'm not a star seed, does it matter? Because the people who claim to be don't necessarily seem to be in a much better position. The people who claim to be aren't necessarily doing the things. And it's like, again, it's so wild to me how I have had conversations. I don't even want to say I've listened to people in the past who are like, I'm up against this wall or I'm up against that wall or I'm facing this challenge or I seem to be in this period of stagnation and the divine is telling me to do this and do that. And then you see them not do this or that. They do the other thing. And then you hear them talk about how frustrated, irritated, upset they are. And it's like, well, you never did the thing. And again, like that's because I refuse to self-abandon, my shadow isn't a saboteur. My darkness doesn't work against my light. I am on one accord and we are all geared on moving forward because I had that conversation. Somehow, some way, some seemingly insignificant thing that ultimately didn't even matter because the situation was immediately rectified. I have an abandonment wound. And I was like, I recognize that I have an abandonment wound. And then I recognized what I was doing. And also by that point, I hear the narratives of other people and I'm like, I'm not going to abandon myself. I'm not going to do it. So shadow, darkness, I hope you are ready for the better that I plan on having in my life that I know is for me to have in this lifetime. I hope you're ready for it. So now whenever I hit a low, my shadow was like, come on, girl. You told us that we were going to the top. Okay. And we're not sabotaging. We're not the saboteur. So if you're going to do this, you are actively choosing to do this. It's not somebody or something outside of you. It's not devil energy. It's not this. It's not that. That's you making the choice to not do this when you know it's for you to do. Because it's hard, because it's difficult, because it's challenging. And sir, last year when I had those moments, when I was in a time of questioning whether or not I would move forward, my shadow would be like, like, I understand that it's difficult. I understand that it's challenging, but you already know what is for you to do in the situation. Like, as your shadow, I understand why you're not doing it, but at the same time, you didn't do it. So before you give up, before you deem something as not possible or as you being baited or whatever, try the thing that you know is for you to do. Lo and behold, oh my gosh, I try it and things work out. Things move forward. Crazy, right? Crazy. Rather than me like not doing the thing and then getting on here and I don't know. It's just I lived misery for long enough to know that it's not going to get me where I want. I've experienced enough outside of my misery to know that I want to continue going where I'm going, in the direction that I'm heading in. I can always separate these again. It's not that big of a deal. If I do go back and build another spread, it's just like, I don't know. And again, this isn't directed at any one person in general or whatever. It's just this overall trend, this overall theme, Jupiter makes a transit in astrology. Venus does something in astrology, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, this time it's going to be so gorgeous and it's going to be so beautiful because this is happening and everything's just going to happen. You're not going to have to do anything. And then, the transit happens and it's like, is anybody else like struggling how I'm struggling? Is anybody else like, the energy was supposed to be so gorgeous, but it wasn't. But at the same time, everybody wants to be sovereign. Everybody wants to be an emperor and an empress, but nobody wants to actually do the things that empresses, emperors, and sovereigns do, which is show up and do the things that are for you to do. Everybody want to be empress. Everybody want to be sovereign, but they want somebody else to do all the work for them. It's like, oh, you want to be the person in the group that doesn't contribute, but you want full credit. Got it. Sure. No. And again, it's like, if I didn't want better or see if there was better, I would just chalk it up to it's someone who like just wants to complain. And again, believe me, I was that person. Sometimes I am that person who wants to complain. I complain a lot less than I used to. Yeah, my shadow was like, because again, like I sat down and I had that conversation. I'm not going to self-abandon my shadow. I'm not going to self-abandon my ego. I'm not going to self-abandon any part of me. If any part of me ascends, all of me ascends into the 5D or whatever. And again, I hate to be as like, I don't want to be flippant or like, or whatever all the time, as if I don't see any validity or truth in it. It's like, sometimes to communicate an idea or a thought or a feeling, you have to use a lingo that you have to use words that people might understand or know. I feel like I'm drinking way too much, way too quickly, but here we are. All right. I am mixing the archetypes. They are no longer in all of their whatevers. The heart and the fault line. It's like I'm standing on a fault line. I don't know. Confirmation is like kind of, it's interesting though. I guess I'll say. 2 cards came out. The archetype of the the archetype of the sword and the archetype of the father. Number 2 and number 62. 2 and 62. Yeah. Woo, that wasn't, what was that? Was that early 2020? That wasn't even early. That was probably like mid 2020. Or maybe it was early 2021. No, I don't think I was working yet. Well, I didn't work early 2021. It might have been early 2021, I think. Because mid 2022 or mid 2020, I had a blow up with my mom. And I was like, nothing that I ever do is good enough. And she was like, what are you talking about? And then one day I got the realization that feeling didn't come from my mom. That came from me. Nothing that I ever did was good enough for me because I was always comparing myself to this perfect idealized timeline that would have happened had I never suffered any kind of challenge or resistance or setbacks in life. If I wasn't dealing with everything that I am in real life dealing with, I would have been here. I would have been there. Oh my gosh. And it's like, girl, okay, sure. But you are dealing with what you're dealing with. Your limitations are your limitations. Some of this stuff ain't self imposed, girl. It's the hand that you were dealt in life. You can't see. You can't see what you're expecting. If I was an averagely sighted person who was able to do this and do that and not have any worry or concern about the things that I can't do, I would have been here. It's the way that I dismissed everything that I was going through and the way that I was honestly dismissing myself. And it's like, of course, I don't live up to this unrealistic standard I'm setting for myself because that's not my life. Those aren't my circumstances. Yeah. But it's mom. Mom is the one who's doing this. Mom is the one who is projecting on me. And it's like, no, girl, that's you. And I was like, oh. And I had enough self-love by the time I reached that realization that it like broke me. That I was the one who was doing that to myself all that time. That it wasn't anybody else. Maybe there was a part of me that like needed her to be disappointed in me because because I had a very clear plan when I was going into college of I'm going to be in and out in 4 years. I'm going to work these co-ops like every summer or however many semesters to the point where like I'm going to be able to pay some of this. And by the time I graduate, I'm already going to have a job lined up and boom, 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 boom. Everything's going to be perfect. Everything's going to be amazing. Girl, the eyesight between when I started school and when I finished, like completely just leagues apart. It seemed like things just developed quickly, deteriorated rapidly. But it's like, yeah, no, like it was me. So I've been fortunate enough, I guess, in that way to have a mother that is loving, encouraging, and supportive. I know that that's not the case for everybody, unfortunately. For those of us who do still have our mothers or who had our mothers at that time in our lives. But again, that's why I've said, like, I can realize and recognize I've had incredibly supportive people all my life, but it was me. I was the problem because I didn't want to do any better. I wasn't ready to accept my circumstances or situations. I wasn't ready to do anything but hold pity parties and be miserable. Even when the solutions were given to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, the water is rising. Why has God not rescued me yet? After helicopter and life draft and Olympic swimmer and literally aliens with a tractor beam teleporter who, like, if you step on the pad, you will be immediately teleported somewhere where you aren't in fear of drowning. Girl, she was me. He was me. Okay. You know, I say she because anyway, that was me. And I was like, wow, like I actually do love me now. That's crazy because there's a point in time where if I would have realized that, like it wouldn't have it wouldn't have mattered. You know what I mean? The sword and the father. This is like protector energy. But it's like fatherly protector energy rather than motherly protector energy, and the sustainer is at the bottom of the deck. I don't know. Am I going to keep this video up? Sure. I'm probably just going to title this Chili Pepper. Because again, like my intention was to come on here and be like, I think sometimes we can spiritually displace meaning that we use spirituality to displace the responsibility of who should be making the choices and taking the actions and doing all of this stuff. It's not me, it's you projecting on me. It's not me, it's everyone else around me because I'm an empath. It's not me, it's my ancestors. And it's like, but if it wasn't you, it wouldn't be you type of energy. Don't get me wrong, there are times when people do project. There are certain things that are the ancestors that are not ours. And there are things from other people that we may pick up on that y'all may pick up on as empaths. There's that 22 crossroads again. But at the end of the day, like, you make the choices and decisions that you make, regardless of everything that led up to you making that choice and decision. And folks just really don't want to have any kind of accountability. But everybody's sovereign. Everyone's sovereign without any kind of accountability. Like, what is that? Who is the king? Who is the emperor? Who is the queen? Who is the empress? Who is the sovereign that makes decisions but doesn't have any accountability at all for the decisions that they make? But we expect more from the people who lead us, who govern us, who make those choices and decisions for us. We expect more from others than we do from ourselves. But we be real quick to blame somebody. My tongue is already getting tired. I've hit the Oracle juice a little too many times. I hope you're still with me, Eve. I am maybe like 20 ounces in. Maybe 24. Where did this card go? It's the dice. Dice fell on the floor. I saw it when it hit the floor. Oops, did I kick the thing? You're here. Are you still drinking? Are you still consuming? I'm kidding. It's a time of never mind. Oh, I take it back. I mean, you know what? Honestly, and part of me, like, at some points, especially when I hear so many people on the internet talk about how difficult of a space that they're in and how they may feel betrayed or, okay, you're on glass number 2. All right, thank you. How they may feel anything that they're feeling. And when I don't, like, when I'm not in a position myself that resonates to that, like, if I'm on a personal high while it seems like the collective is in a lull or in a low, there's a part of me that's like, I shouldn't, like, say anything. But at the same time, it's like, I navigate my path journey in the way that I navigate my path journey in way. And it's like, if there was something within me that wanted to be present in those, like, low moments of my path, in those moments where things weren't great, but I'm not also here in moments where, like, because of the choices and decisions that I made in those moments, that my experience does change. It feels partially disingenuous. It also feels like a disservice. And it's like, it's shown to me literally in ways that I cannot confuse or in ways that I cannot misattribute, that because I made the choices and decisions that I made when things were challenging, when things were hard, and when things were difficult, I'm in the position that I am now. Like, I'm in this position now because of that, because of those choices, because I wasn't just like, oh, does it help that? And again, like, it wasn't until Michigan, it was like on that Michigan trip where something would come to my mind and this other thing would come to my mind. And in my own internal dialogue with Spirit, I would be like, hey, Spirit, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Spirit, da, 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 da. And Spirit would be like, well, does it matter? And I would be like, I mean, I guess not, but like, can I get an answer? It's like, does it matter? And it's like, no, it doesn't really matter. I guess it only matters to illuminate certain things, maybe. But it's like, again, if it doesn't change anything, if it doesn't change the way that we interact with the world, and that's another thought. Again, it just came back to my mind, and that's why I brought up some of these points and I forgot to mention it. Where it's like, you'll hear people talk about like the collective, or you'll hear people talk about like unity in like a 3D way and how like challenging or difficult it is. But it's like, and I'm not trying to be mean, I'm not trying to be whatever, but it's a bunch of self-proclaimed black sheeps who felt so rejected, so isolated, so outside of society that it becomes a part of their identity, number one, and that they commit themselves to, number two, being on the outside. And then it's like, I'm not going to a plumber asking questions that I should ask about an electrician, asking questions that I should ask to an electrician about electricity. And it's like, you self-identify as somebody who was so far outside the collective that blah, 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 whatever, and you can't conceptualize a way that there be some kind of harmony. And it's like, yeah, I'm not surprised. As someone who doesn't want to be a part of it, I'm not surprised that you can't find or feel or see a path where things actually work out harmoniously. As someone who needs discord and disharmony and dystopia to justify the positions that you've held, and to justify the beliefs that you have and the things that you think and the truths that you hold to be true, I'm not surprised if you can't see, feel, intuit a harmony where that's not the case. When your ego is like, I was right about this, I was right about that, I was right about all these other things. And for me, it was like the end of 2020. It was the end of 2019 when it was all that like World War III stuff. And it's like, in my mind, does it speak to the genius of the matrix that we live in? Sure. But it's like, in my mind, I struggle to see or believe like there's this certain level of empowerment. We're awakening, we're ascending into the 5D, we're doing this and we're doing that. We're coming into more and more and more spiritual authority. And then we're using that spiritual authority to reinforce an outcome, a future, a potential of like food shortages, global starvation, war, all of this other stuff. It's like we try to subvert a fear narrative or whatever by reinforcing said fear narrative. And to me, it's like, if I believe that I am co-creating with spirit, I am co-creating with the universe, that the divine is listening to me, and that we're in this conversation, it would be spiritually irresponsible of me to then reinforce this outcome that, for why? Like, it would be so spiritually irresponsible of me to use my sovereignty to create this world in which like all of these things come to be. Why? Just because somebody else said like, oh, this is happening and that's happening and this thing is coming and that thing is coming. It's like, I don't know. I don't have the same buy-in as other people, I guess. It's like, if you're telling me I'm spiritually sovereign, I can also recognize the fact that pathways and journeys are pathways and journeys. I can recognize the fact that we as humans need to sometimes learn or evolve. We need to learn or grow, mature. We need to mature. And so it's not necessarily every single time going to be this immediate, like, one day I wake up as this person and then the next day I'm a completely different person. Like, I understand that there's like learning moments and opportunities, that there are points in times where we like utilize that learning, where we make choices and decisions, and as we make more and more choices and decisions, we change. Like, I know it's not necessarily going to be immediate. I can allow for immediacy, but what I and my own personal beliefs and spiritual sovereignness am not going to do is co-sign a doomsday reality in which everything falls apart. Is it because I'm too comfortable? Am I currently not air conditioned room with my internet and my TVs and my video games? Sure. But I don't believe we have to go back to move forward. Like, and again, for me, it would just be so spiritually irresponsible to claim to be sovereign, but to reinforce the worst possible outcome. It's like, in what world? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. It's fine. I don't need a merch shop. It's fine. I am I am fine in obscurity and irrelevance. But if you want to make coffee cups that say doesn't matter, I will buy one. You know, but it's just, again, it's like it's this mix of like, and I guess since I'm already here, there's like this really okay. Let's rephrase. When I was early on my journey, early on my journey, like Netflix, Hulu recommendations early on my journey, DMT, a spiritual, whatever, The Secret, blah, blah, blah. The first thing I came across was like ayahuasca. And it was like people who did ayahuasca and some documentary on some platform, probably Netflix, about some dude who went and did ayahuasca in South America. And for me personally, like substance-based spirituality is like wild. Because for me, it was just like, I don't want to create a spiritual identity that is centered on a particular substance in a way of like, so that I don't form that personal connection, or so that I may, within my own soul spirit pathway journey, so that I may misattribute some things to the substance. And it's not to say that ayahuasca and other sacred substances don't do the things that they very much so do. It's to say that I don't want to form my spiritual identity based and centered around that substance to the point where I need it to sort of like reach some sort of state. Like, I want to find within me. I want to journey within me. I want to develop and expand upon the conversation that I'm already having to reach those certain states. Because sometimes it's like I'll see a meme and it's like other people who are like robots in the Matrix being in the 3D, me on mushrooms, all whatever. And it's like, but but you need a mushroom to do that. And it's not just like that same thing extends to the Hierophant. Like, you need a pastor, you need a preacher, you need a guru, you need some random person on the internet to tell you how to do this or do that. Like, at what point do we actually begin to develop that relationship for ourselves, even outside of like cards and stuff? And it's not to say that like none of those things help. But again, it's how I view the hermit's journey. You start with the lantern from the Hierophant, but eventually at some point, like, do you not find your own light? Do you not begin to converse with the divine for yourself? It's like everyone's synchronicity, 1111, 1 2 3 4, all this and all that. Let me get on Google and look up angel number, whatever. But it's like, at what point does that conversation become like personalized in a way? And again, like, I'm not trying to shame anybody. You will see me on here, like, if I'm doing a reading or whatever, and a number comes up that I don't personally have any significance for, will I look it up? Of course. Of course I will. But at the same time, it's like there are certain things that I do have the context for. There are certain things that come to me and it's like, oh, I know this. Like I say, like, I'm in conversation and in communion with the divine almost constantly 24/7. And it's not to be on some kind of high horse pedestal or whatever. But that's like, it's the reason why I don't necessarily feel the need to knock on a deck or to start pulling cards with a prayer or anything. Cause like, I don't want to say my life is a prayer, but it's a door that's always open. It's a conversation that never stops. And if the conversation never stops, it's like, if I'm talking to you as I'm talking to you, and I'm just randomly an hour, 6 minutes, and 6.5 minutes into this video, like, hey, I'm Patrick. Welcome back to Real Karuk. This is my channel. Like, why would I constantly be like reintroducing myself in the middle of an ongoing conversation type of thing? And again, it was in early 2020 when people were like, and even still, like, I was doing this and I was doing that and like doing these rituals and doing this, and like, then I reached a point where it's like, but it, in my mind, it's like, how did you get that far? How did you get so far from like who you are and who source is to you, who God is to you, who spirit is to you that lives within you? Also, I guess when you enter spaces like this, it's understandable because there are things that we don't know. So maybe we do develop a dependency on other people if we don't trust ourselves. And it's a part of the process, just as we're babies and we rely on our parents and our guardians and our community to teach us certain things. So too, then do we then, hopefully, maybe sometimes some of us reach the point where we go out into the world and we experience that there are things in the world that our parents, our communities, that at home, the village, where is the village? We're looking before and after the village, because why not? That the village didn't prepare us for. And at that moment, it's not that like your parents were wrong and your community is wrong, even if they are wrong. That's not the point. You just experience more. You experience different. You experience things that are outside all that you know. And at that moment, at that time where there are conflicting truths, where there are conflicting beliefs, lies an opportunity to grow closer to what is true for you, or what is your truth, or whatever. Again, it's like, y'all got me for 2 weeks. I mean, I'm probably not going to go anywhere because last time I was working, I was still making videos or whatever. But I don't know. It's just like, and again, I feel like I've had different points along my journey where I didn't necessarily have anywhere to direct my sacred rage. Because at the end of the day, people are people. We all have hearts, we all have minds, we all have souls and spirits and bodies to make our own choices and decisions. It doesn't matter if someone's telling people to like jump off of bridges, unless you are an impressionable mind. Is there not something within you that's like, hey, like, I shouldn't do this? I forgot what card I was looking for. I probably passed it. Well, hopefully not. I'm like deep in this deck right now. Yeah. I think it is like, and that's a very, 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 that's an extremely valid point, the validation thing, because I think it's true. I believe it to be true, especially. Oh, I didn't pass it. Oh well. So I told you I was going to look before and after the village, right? It's number 31 and number 10, the warrior in the heart before and after village. This was literally the top three cards on the deck. Literally the top three cards I pulled from the bottom. The warrior in the heart. The reason why I pulled before and after the village is because there's a blurb on the side of the village that states it's like at some point in our journey, we all leave the village. That's a thing. Everybody wants to grow, evolve, change. They want better than what they experienced growing up or whatever. But there's also a point in the journey where we return to the village. And when we return, we share all of the knowledge, all of the inspiration, everything that we experienced outside of the village, we bring back with us. That's how the village grows. Or that's how the village like stays modern. That's how the village keeps up with the times. By all those who return after they have left that tell the village of the world outside of it. The warrior heart. But yeah, with the validation thing, I've again, like that's extremely fair. That's extremely valid. Excuse me, I never did find the dice. I kind of got to go to the bathroom. I think I did drink a little too much too quickly. But it's fine. I'm. I don't know. It's just. Again, it's like I truly, genuinely, honestly believe. I hope for more for us as a collective of individuals. Um, but I also, being human, like recognize some of the challenges and difficulties. Um, and at the end of the day, it's like I feel like a lot of times, almost sort of going back to that spiritual displacement, it's like a lot of times we like to be like the transits are doing this, like the planets are doing this as they transit. The collective is in this energy or that energy. But it's like the collective is composed of individuals of which we are a part. And just because the transits are doing this or doing that doesn't negate or take away from our free will, our ability to show up and make choices and decisions. But we're gonna wherever we be, wherever we get to, that's where we're gonna be. So, ooh, this is a bad choice. This is a bad decision. I should not be doing this. I really did not think that dice card, like the reason why I say this is a bad choice is because I'm a little woozy. Like I woke up, I went to the gym, I sweated, I hydrated. I hydrated as I was like working out. Actually, I'm probably gonna take a break here, like a 3-ish minute break to go to the restroom and fill up my water. I'm surprised the headache hasn't set in already. I feel like, and I may be completely just like crazy, but I feel like my body metabolizes alcohol fairly quickly. But like, I get like dehydrated like really quick. Like within minutes, I'll like start to get a headache and everything, even if I feel completely fine. You know what I mean? But also, kind of, sort of in general, I have been hydrating more. Well, that was a coffee. It wasn't a tea. I know that card fell down here, but I'm not seeing it. Oh, it's literally right here. As I'm talking about drinking more water and hydrating, I move my water bottle and there it is right there. It's the dice. It's a chance. Spirit's taking a chance on us because we're human. We get to decide, girl, and it's like we get to decide. So since this fell on the floor, I'm not going to take it. Thank you, Eve, for being here. Also, I guess in times like this, I want to thank Eve and I'm pretty sure Holly and all of the other people. Perry last night or the night before, I think it was last night. Who, when I am a little chili pepper, who like are like, it is what it is. I feel like if you don't see anything else, you may headache after 2 glasses. Okay, yeah. For me, it's almost like anything. If I'm not hydrated, I get that headache quick. But if I am hydrated, then I don't, and it's fine. Or it'll be like a lot less achy. Like it's because of all of the encouragement that I've gotten since I almost want to say the dark times. But I guess that was also my philosophy. It's like when the world goes dark, shine brighter. I don't know. They are, and I appreciate it. Because it's just like, again, like as a human, I get it. Feeling baited by spirit, carrot on a stick. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. All that you tell me to do. The transits are looking like this, but then it's like that happens. But again, like within the past year and a half now, I guess, of my life, it's been this past year and a half of my life where there were things that I knew I needed to do that I really didn't want to do. And then because I didn't say the thing, nothing changes or things proceedingly get worse and worse. And I'm like, oh, I should just quit. I should just leave. It never felt like through all that I endured in that past job, it never felt like it was for me to leave. And it never felt like it was for me to quit. What it felt like it was for me to do was to do and say the things that I knew was for me to do. And then, of course, Shadow would be like, I understand that you're upset because you're going through this and you're experiencing that. I get it. Believe me. As a part of you that carried all of the things that you would rather not think about or forget about, I get it. But at the same time, you promised me more and you're not doing the thing that you know is for you to do. So before you tuck tail, turn and run, do the thing. Try. And it's like, okay, fine. And here we are. And it went right back on the floor. Bottom of the deck is the lady. The conservative lady, we'll call her. We'll call her the conservative lady because she's not the sexy lady. I didn't even see this card as it fell on the floor. It went down face down, and I'm picking it up face down. I am going to go to the restroom after this, though. Probably going to hold off on drinking water because that seal is about to break, and I hate going to the bathroom, apparently. The cross. The lady and the cross. I feel like the lady and the cross it's like the things that are our burdens to bear. Oh, there's another card down here. Could you hear my head brush up against the microphone? The compass. The cross and the lady felt like the things that are our burdens to bear. But then the compass was right behind it. I think Six of Wands, Ace of Spades, and a wild card. What did I say I was going to title this video? Chili pepper, chili pepper. Okay. All right. So since you're taking a break, I'll take a break. All right, I'm back. I grabbed a few cookies from the cookie jar. I'm definitely feeling it. I drank too much too quickly, but it's fine. We're going to maintain composure. Even if I stumble over my words, I'll blame Mercury being in retrograde in the sky, sextiling my natal retrograde Mercury in my 12th house. What's wild is that like my 12th house is so big that transiting Mercury by this point might actually be in my 12th house. My 12th house starts in Pisces and it ends in Taurus. So wouldn't that be hilarious? Thank you, Eve. Mercury is 5 degrees retrograde Taurus. Mercury is in my 12th house. My Taurus or my Pisces Mercury is in the same house as the transiting Taurus Mercury right now. Cool. Oh, the moon is in Pisces in between Saturn and Neptune. Anyway, thank you. I think I already said thank you, but thank you again and welcome back to you as well. So I'm going to pull one of these. Ooh, the Lovers. Because I haven't yet, and I have all the other cards. The Cross. When does Mercury go direct? I think I've heard it goes direct on the 21st. But, let's see. Is it hypocritical of me to, like, after saying everything that I've said, use an app to see when Mercury goes direct? Whoa, no. On Mother's Day. In 1 day and 3 hours, Mercury will station direct. Okay. At 5 degrees Taurus. 1 day and 3 hours. So if you've been, I guess it'll be in its post-retrograde shadow, so never mind. I was going to say, if you've been struggling talking to your mom, Mercury will be direct. If you still have her. I know not everyone does. Ooh, King of Wands. Bottom of the deck is Justice. Like, ooh. The expression on the face of Justice is interesting. It's almost like she's like, they did what? She said, what? What he do? Time to go to work. You've been having traffic problems? Like internet traffic, real life traffic? Oh, this is 3 cards. King of Wands, 2 of Swords, and the Sad Squirrel. The King of Wands is a director in this deck. The 2 of Swords is a moment of on the commute. Okay. Well, hopefully that clears up for you. I will be commuting myself here fairly soon. Everything seems to be moving in a way, which is great, which is gorgeous, which I am ready for. I'm looking at places, and I think I found a place that is very much so. I guess it's more than I was wanting, but for all of the accommodations, girl, I will take it. We'll see. So you may be seeing me. You will probably still see this. Not gonna lie, you'll probably still see this. But you may be seeing me in a different space here in the not too distant future. The King of Wands, the 2 of Swords, and the Sad Squirrel. It feels like the King of Wands is giving directions that like the Sad Squirrel can't keep up with. And so it's almost like instead of trying, the Sad Squirrel just like gets angry and gets like violent, and it's like, bleh. But I don't want to say it's a test of intuition, because the happy moon is in this card. The moon draws the tides. It's something that can't necessarily be seen anyway. The Two of Swords for me is a card of like where the intuition needs to step in because there may not be an immediate logical conclusion that can be reached. The cross and the compass. The cross with the lady, it feels like, what is our burden to bear? Like, it is our burden to bear. It is our cross to carry. And can it seem unfair? Sure. We are entitled to feel however we feel, and all of our feelings are valid. But with the compass, it's like there is a sense of direction, there is a point to it. The sustainer is at the bottom of the deck with the father and the sword. So it's like anything that's asked isn't asked without reason. And again, justice is at the bottom of the deck. So there is a purpose behind it. Maybe sometimes the purpose and the point is to like realize what is sort of like unfair to ask, or what is impossible, or it's been an hour and a half. Thank you, E, for being here with me. Thank you for supporting this chili peppery side of me. Again, like, I don't get on the internet and be a chili pepper just for the sake of being a chili pepper. I'm not the type of person that is going to be controversial just for the sake of being controversial. Like, I have honestly little to nothing to gain. I say I have little to nothing to gain, but I have a lot to gain from a world where more and more and more people listen to their own discernment and intuition, for more and more and more people who listen to their own intuition and use their own discernment rather than following fads and trends, be they spiritual or otherwise, or rather than just like listening to who or what like this person versus that person is saying. I have a lot to gain from a world in which we are all more intimately connected to the divine within us, and that we all walk more truly, genuinely, and authentically with that. Right? Or 5. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the challenge. I'm coming with 10 chili peppers. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That would be the point where I'm like, why am I like this? I'm going to come with 10 chili peppers. Oh my, stop. Oh. Now there are 2 cards on the floor. The birds, the daytime birds, is the first card. 2 cards at least fell on the floor because, cards like to hide behind other cards. Excuse me. Okay. This one went over here. Oh, it's 2 cards. The other one landed right on top of the ship. The ship landed right on top of my water. Isn't that crazy? Even though the ship flies in the sky. I just saw you later. 1 second. Sorry if you can hear my scrape up against the microphone. So we got the ship. Something is moving. With the fox and the key, 1433. 3. This, it wasn't in the Lenormand. I think it might have been in the Lafruma. 333 came out recently. So the ship that landed on top of the water with the fox and the key. This, honestly, it feels like something that's not. It feels like something that doesn't make sense where we are. Because the fox is the key. The fox is the thing that unlocks something. The fox is also heading in the same direction as, this is an 8, 9, 10. The fox is moving towards the direction that the ship is traveling in, but it's looking back at the key. almost like there's some like secret encrypted encoded message, and the fox is like, do you get it? Do you understand? If you don't, just follow me. Follow me. It's like when you like watch a movie or whatever, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's a dog," and then the dog runs off. I think he wants us to follow him. I think she wants to be followed. The dog is trying to show us something. It's the 8 of diamonds, the 9 of clubs, and the 10 of spades. So we're missing either a 7 of hearts or a jack of hearts. And because I'm Patrick, I'm going to pull before and after both of them. The reason why Patrick pulls before or after a card, like I'll feel an energy and I pull before and after the energy. Number one, to like validate that energy, but more often than not, number two, to like see what is surrounding that energy, to see like how easily seen or visible it is, to see if we are in a position to like easily or more easily or not like do the thing, or to see if it's like something completely different. That's why I personally pull before and after a card. So we're going to look at the 7 of hearts and the jack of diamonds because there's an obvious pattern. Like it's 8, 9, 10. We're missing either the 7 before the 8 or the jack after the 10. And the only suit that's not here is the heart. Okay. Oh, here's the 7 of hearts. The maze. The maze in the clouds. No. This is a 657, 43-7. So on one side is, I'll put these here. On one side is the maze, the 7 of hearts, which is the tree, and the clouds. So that goes before the key, which I kind of like. The reason why I pulled the Wild Unknown archetypes is because there was an energy of like those who navigate out of the forest before the fog clears will find themselves in a space of mastery. And with the maze and the clouds, it feels like a very similar energy to like a dense fog that it's very easy to lose our sense of direction in. But with the key to the unlocked cage, we get out of it. When we get out of that fog maze, it's like the fox will lead us to this ship. The fox being something that we encountered in the maze. It's like the maze itself, the fog itself gives context to what comes after type of energy. Oh, and here's the, oh wait, I thought I just, there's the jack of hearts. Oh, of course. Of course. It's the well again. The well, the card that was at the bottom of the deck when I first, looked at these cards. The well, the swan, question mark, the heart, the well, the heart, and the bear. Wild card and the 10 of clubs. This is the 10 of spades and the 8 of diamonds on the before and after. No, it's the wild card and the king of clubs on the other side. Wild cards with the maze and the clouds, and then wild cards with the well and the bear. What's interesting about both of these is that the wild card I was pulling from the bottom of the deck, the wild card is before the significator. So using both of that, we discover in the maze, in the sense of confusion, that actually helps us get out of it. Once we get out of it, there's a certain perception of things that hindsight gives us. that allows us to move forward, that allows us to sail through the sky, honestly, rather than on the water, to the next phase. The next phase being something that has been buried deeply, or something that is extremely internal, that's been in a space of like hibernation, that's been waiting, honestly. Something that's been waiting to come to the forefront. Something that's been dying to come out of us or be expressed from us or something like that. That is those last cards, but I'm just gonna give this a quick shuffle. And I'm gonna try to not have cards fall on the floor. Top 2 cards. The heart and the bridge. Bridge of love. That's what the heart does, though. It connects us to one another. Bottom of the deck is the anchor and the ring. 2535 with the book behind it. The anchor and the ring. This feels like a long forgotten promise. The ring is a promise. The anchor is heavy. It sinks to the bottom of the sea. But these are like waters of like time. What was promised to us? What is guaranteed to us? This bridge is 10 short of double the heart. $24 times 2 is 48. 48 minus 10 is 38, which is the bridge. There isn't a card 48 in this deck. That just signifies, it's almost like, I think sometimes we need to know where we're going, or we need to know what we're doing. And it makes me think of the high priest. Girl, the high priestess came out every time I rolled the dice yesterday, but it was the first time. So high priestess and justice ? There was an energy that was like, it's 2 footprints in the sand, and then there was 1 pair of footprints, but this time it wasn't like Jesus carrying you. It's that, like, if you know that the divine was there every step of the way, when there were 2 pairs of footprints in the sand, when you could see the divine there, when there's only 1 pair of footprints and you believe that pair of footprints to be yours, what would make you think, or have, what would have you think that you've been abandoned? It's just like it's just begun to move in a direction that you can't see, or that you can't perceive, that you're not aware of. But just because you don't see the divine moving doesn't mean that the divine is not moving. AKA, just because you don't see or can't see the divine moving doesn't mean it's necessarily for you to stop moving. I don't know quite why. Oh, yeah, because there's no card 48. Because we don't know where that bridge leads. That's why. But it's for us to continue to like follow and trust in our heart. You know? Is it hard? Yeah. Is it difficult? Of course. Is it easy? No. Is being human easy? No. Is anything easy in a time where so many things are changing and it's so hard to get some kind of stability? No. But it's interesting that there was this very understandable like global narrative of how difficult things were in 2020 and everything stopping, and in a time where we're honestly more connected than ever, so many people were feeling isolated and left out and alone. But I had so many like friends like, getting new homes and getting new like jobs and moving on with their lives. And it's like, it's always possible, even in environments that aren't conducive to it. But it's about the internal circumstance. That goes back to the power of circumstance from that one time I was watching The Magicians. Like, something happened and the gods of magic. So all of the magicians who weren't used to using magic, they couldn't do magic anymore. And then magic came back, but it was rationed. There was a ration on magic. And they were like, somebody spoiler alerted the spoiler alert. Now we got magic back, but without the spoiler alert, it's extra wonky. But then it was like, magic is like, there's the external conditions, but then there's the internal circumstances. The internal circumstance of the practitioner said magic. And if the internal circumstance are set right, or it doesn't matter what the external environment is or is not. It doesn't matter if it's supported or not supported by the external environment. When the internal circumstances are on point, it will happen. That's where that whole thing originally came from. That's what inspired it. And the external, we don't necessarily have any control over. Waiting on the external to be favorable or practical or aligned is to be at the mercy of something and someone, a whole bunch of someone else's. But it's my perception that the many, many, many people who talk about spiritual journeys and all of this and dark nights and all of that, more often than not, it seems to focus on the end sense. It's never about anything of ourselves. But I guess if we hit a wall, it can be really easy to be like, oh yeah, it's like, it's not me, it's this, it's that. It's like, okay, girl. Well, you're human, it's valid. I'm human, it's valid. It exists. It's a real thing. And if that be the thing that stop us, then that be the thing that stop us. But recognize, I guess it doesn't have to be. But maybe there are some paths in which that is the case. And for those people, I have, I don't want to say I don't have anything to offer you. I will say it's not my path. It's not my journey. So as someone who that is not my path, I do try to be fairly open to other truths and other paths and other journeys. And if they come to me to read, I try to, at my very best, set myself aside and recognize a truth when I see it, even if it's not mine. But also at the same time, it's like, again, for all of the sovereignty that we try to gain, that we do achieve, we can be so quick to utilize that sovereignty to fuel someone's dystopian nightmare future. And it's like, girl, again, to me, it just seems so spiritually irresponsible for me to have a path and journey that leads me to a sovereignty, and then to turn around and use that sovereignty to reinforce, to validate, or to encourage the likelihood of a future that I don't want to see. That's the power of a Neptune delusion, I guess. That's the power of Pisces, let's call it. I'll use my sovereignty to create a timeline that goes otherwise. And for the things that need to happen, they will happen. But in cases of extremes, no. It's like when everyone's like, there are going to be like food shortages and starvation. Are there hungry people? Probably. But I'm like, no. With all of my spiritual being, I am not going to listen to this and then be like, oh yeah, like that's why I'm starting my garden and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And it's not to be unprepared. It's not to be ill prepared. It's just, I'm not going to use my spiritual belief. I'm not going to put my manifestation coins and tokens into the machine of nobody can eat. Everyone is starving. We're killing each other because there's not enough resources and blah, 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 blah. Again, for me, to Patrick, that would be spiritually irresponsible of Patrick to validate and confirm and to bring about in his life that reality. And at that point, it's like, what's the purpose of any kind of authority or spiritual dominance or however it's communicated if we just use it to bring about worst case scenario? Like, don't fear this, but it's happening. The Flame in the Ring, number 51 and number 57. Behind the ring is the shadow. Lights cast shadows. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's this marriage between light and shadow. Because anything that exists in this world, well, most things that exist in this world will cast a shadow if you put them in front of the light. That was the Sagittarius sun and the Sagittarius moon. What my mama say? That was my mom. She texted me. She's like, "Are you still alive?" And then I'm wrapping it up, but baby, it's cold outside. Maybe that's just like that's what spiritual sovereignty and all that. Like that's what it means to me. That's what co-creation means to Patrick. And since Patrick doesn't want to experience that reality, Patrick's not going to co-sign it. Patrick can also be humble enough to know that he doesn't completely control and dominate, that there are things that may need to happen to and for some people for them to get whatever they need to get to go wherever they need to go. But on the massive scale, on the grand scale, in the grand scheme of things, is this the thing that I'm going to put my personal manifestation tokens into? Girl, no. Like, why would I do that? Woo! All right. You leaving? Hold up. I got to go buy a fan because my fan died last night and it's the summer months. It's getting hot. Okay, so we're gonna make this quick. All right. Shuffle. And honestly, okay, so you remember how like 3 hours ago at the beginning of the video, I said that there have been things that I've come across on my journey, especially early in my spiritual journey, that I don't necessarily talk about. Well, one of those things was Cryon. I know, right? Patrick, Cryon? You really? No. What? Yeah, it was Cryon. And Cryon said something that was like, when your energy is this, when you walk into a room, it changes the room. Our energies radiate outward from inside out. That's partially part of the reason why I don't feel the need to like clear everything or whatever, or to set specific intentions or whatever, because it's like, girl, the spirit knows my heart. The universe knows my mind, my body, and my soul. Like, let's do it. It's an ongoing conversation. Hierophant came out with the Ten of Cups at the bottom of the deck. The thing that I like about the Hierophant and the Ten of Cups is that a lot of these Hierophantic systems are supposed to like serve the people. And just because Hierophant hasn't been done in a way that does that, doesn't mean that Hierophant isn't capable of being conducted in a way that does that. And I, again, personally am not of the type to, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I don't want to have to worry about. I enjoy modern comforts. I love modern living. I love having indoor plumbing and heating and cooling and the internet and video games and TV and all of that stuff. And I don't personally believe that we have to go back to the Stone Ages in order to reach some kind of equity, fairness for everybody. And so instead of throwing these things, some of these things away, why not repurpose it? Why not change the leadership? Why not put people in those positions that actually care about people? Because the Hierophant itself isn't necessarily bad. It's the people who are maybe operating in a self-interest that do that position a disservice. And that was the last deck that I had to get a final card from. I got to go get me a fan. So I will catch you all whenever I catch you. Thank you again, Eve, for being here live. For any of those of y'all who catch this in the replay after, or who dipped in and out or popped in and out or whatever, Again, like, I'm not trying to comfort anybody's belief. I'm not trying to do anything besides see us as individuals do what is for us as individuals to do to make a stronger collective, and to really take advantage of everything that the transits are offering us and that the divine is wanting from us, because whatever people have been manifesting as the age of Aquarius is seems to be very different from what we've lived in real life. And if we think it's just going to happen without doing things or anything else, it's like possible, sure, because miracles do happen and I believe in miracles, but it's like if we have the power to do that ourselves, why not? Actually be sovereign, number one, and use that serenity, number two, to create a world that we want to live in, and to spiritually, energetically reinforce and validate and bring into reality and increase the likelihood of a world that we actually want to be in. I'm only one person. My truths are my truths. Your truths are your truths. Your journey is your journey. And for anyone who has a journey that is not mine, I have so much appreciation and so much respect for the paths that I will not walk in my individual incarnation. For y'all's doing the work, I wish you anything and everything that you need to continue doing it. I hope you have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. Whatever you need along your path, journey, and way, I hope you find it in a way that is helpful and beneficial to you. And I hope you all of the strength, all of the courage, all of the dogged determination to overcome anything that you need to overcome, to face anything that you need to face, and to thrive. Because the more of us who thrive, the better the world will be. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'll catch y'all later. Bye. This was not supposed to be spicy.